He stands by the door, his hands clean for once, and says nothing. He does not need to. Stay with me to the end. Subscribe. Drop the word stay in the comments. Elias Vance runs a thumb over the curved back of the chair. The wood is old, tiger maple, its stripes faded under a century of grime and neglect. His workshop smells of linseed oil, turpentine, and the sharp, sweet scent of freshly planed oak. It is a small space, a converted garage behind his house, but it is the whole of his kingdom. Every tool hangs in its designated place, its metal gleaming, its wooden handle worn smooth by his grip. He does not rush. The work demands patience. The chair is a promise to an old client, a woman who remembers it from her grandmother's parlor. Elias believes in promises. He believes in the integrity of wood, the honesty of a well-made joint, the story an object tells through its scars. Sunlight, thick with dancing dust motes, streams through the high windows. In a corner, sitting at a small paint-splattered table, his daughter Lily works with the same quiet concentration. She is 6 years old, with her mother's wide, serious eyes and his steady hands. She is not drawing a princess or a castle. She is drawing a detailed schematic of a birdhouse, her crayons moving with intense purpose. This is their world, contained, quiet, and meticulously ordered. It is the world he built for her after her mother was gone, a fortress made of routine and shared silence and the smell of sawdust. Beyond the open garage door, the neighborhood breathes its slow, tired sighs. The houses on his street are old, built by shipwrights and mill workers with strong backs and modest dreams. They have character. They have porches and gardens where neighbors once talked over fences. Now, a different kind of sign grows in the neat front yards, red and white signs, for sale signs. They pop up like unwelcome weeds, one after another. A quiet panic hums beneath the surface of the street, a vibration of uncertainty that Elias feels in the soles of his worn work boots. He sets down his scraper, the metal making a soft click against the workbench. He watches Lily for a moment. She does not look up, lost in her work. He feels a familiar ache in his chest, a mix of fierce love and a constant, low-grade fear. This house, this workshop, this street, it is all she has ever known. It is the container for all their memories. A low rumble of expensive engines interrupts the afternoon quiet. Elias straightens up. He wipes his hands on a clean rag, a habit of preparedness. Through the door, he sees 2 black sedans pulled to the curb. Doors open. A man in a suit, too sharp for the neighborhood, steps out, his shoes polished to a mirror shine. Marcus Cole. Elias knows the name. He knows the ambition that radiates from the man like heat from asphalt. Then she steps out of the second car, Annalise Thorne. She is exactly as the business journals describe her, tall, poised, dressed in a severe grey suit that is its own form of armor. Her blonde hair is pulled back in a tight, unforgiving knot. She is the new CEO of Thorne Development Group, the inheritor of her father's formidable empire. Her face is a mask of cool professionalism, but Elias sees the faint shadow of grief under her eyes. Arthur Thorne was buried only 3 months ago. A small crowd of his neighbors has gathered on the sidewalk, drawn by the disruption. They look worried, their faces a mixture of resentment and reluctant hope. A community meeting, impromptu and desperate, begins to form around the sleek cars. Marcus Cole gestures down the street with a dismissive flick of his wrist. His voice is smooth, persuasive, the kind of voice that can make rot sound like opportunity. He is talking about urban renewal, about progress, about maximizing value. Annalise Thorne stands beside him, her arms crossed, her expression unreadable. She scans the houses, her gaze analytical, cold. She is not seeing homes. She is seeing assets and liabilities. Then Marcus points directly at Elias's workshop. And that's the primary holdout. Annalise, Marcus says, his voice carrying clearly into the workshop. The Vance property. As you can see, it's dilapidated. The man runs some kind of hobbyist repair shop out of the garage. It's dragging down the entire block's potential. Elias does not flinch. He stands perfectly still, his hands resting on his workbench. Lily has stopped drawing. She looks from her father to the woman in the grey suit, her small brow furrowed. Annalise's eyes follow Marcus's gesture. They settle on the open garage door, on the tools, on the half-finished chair, and finally on Elias. For a long count she just looks. He sees a flicker of something in her curiosity, perhaps. But it is extinguished as quickly as it appears. She is her father's daughter, but she is also new to this throne. She needs to project strength. She needs to follow the counsel of the man her father trusted. She takes a step forward. Her heels make a sharp, alien sound on the cracked pavement. "Mr. Vance," she says. Her voice is clear and cold, a stark contrast to the warm, dusty air of the workshop. Paragrelius steps out into the sunlight, shielding his eyes. He does not say a word. "My colleague informs me you're unwilling to discuss the sale of your property," she continues, her tone leaving no room for negotiation. Thorn Development is prepared to make a final generous offer to acquire this parcel. Given its current state and the limited commercial viability of your enterprise, we can offer $75,000. That should be more than enough to relocate your hobby elsewhere. A gasp ripples through the small crowd of neighbors. The offer is not just low, it is an insult. It is a fraction of the land's value, a dismissal of his life's work. It is a power play, designed to humiliate, to break his resolve. Marcus Cole smiles, a thin, predatory expression. This is his design. Elias looks at Annalise Thorn. He looks past the suit and the title. He sees the young woman trying to fill her father's shoes, leaning on the wrong pillar for support. He sees her grief, and he sees her mistake. He could argue. He could list his credentials, the museum pieces he has restored, the articles written about his craft. He could tell her that her own father had been a client, a friend. He could tell her that this workshop, this hobby, paid for the house and was building a future for his daughter. He does not say a word in his own defense. Instead, he holds her gaze for 3 full seconds. The world seems to fall silent. There is only the sun in his eyes and the steady, unwavering weight of his stare. Then he gives a single, slow, deliberate nod. "Thank you for the offer, Miss Thorn," he says, his voice quiet but firm. It cuts through the tension with the clean precision of a chisel. "We are not selling." He turns without waiting for a reply, steps back into the shadows of his workshop, and slides the heavy wooden door shut. The world goes dim. The sound of the engines and the murmuring voices are muffled, distant. Lily is standing right behind him. She puts her small hand in his. Her hand is warm. "Is that lady mad, Papa?" she asks. "No, little bird," he says, his voice softer now. "She's just lost." He leads her back to her drawing table, the moment outside already sealed away. He picks up his scraper and returns to the tiger maple chair. His hands are steady, his breathing is even. He goes back to work. Annalise Thorn sits in the back of her chauffeured sedan as it glides through the city. The sleek towers of downtown rise around her, monuments of glass and steel. Her world, this is where she belongs, in the clean, geometric certainty of the corporate landscape. Not on a cracked sidewalk in a forgotten neighborhood, smelling of dust and defiance. But she cannot shake the image of him. Elias Vance. She replays the encounter in her mind, dissecting it. It should have been a simple transaction, a clinical step in a larger strategy. Marcus had assured her the holdouts were sentimental fools, easily pressured. His assessment seemed correct for the others, their faces etched with a weary resignation. But not Vance. It was his stillness that unnerves her, his silence. When she had delivered the insultingly low offer, an offer Marcus had calculated to the dollar to be a public show of force, she had expected a reaction, anger, pleading, shouting, something, anything. She had gotten nothing, just that gaze. It was not hostile, it was not fearful, it was steady, as if he were looking at her from a great distance, seeing something she could not see in herself. And then the quiet, final dismissal. We are not selling. Not an argument, but a statement of fact, as immovable as a mountain. A successful visit, Marcus says from the seat beside her, pulling her from her thoughts. He is looking at his tablet, scrolling through data. They'll fold. Vance put on a good show, but he's isolated now. The rest will sell, and the city will approve the eminent domain claim for his plot. It's a formality. You're certain, Annalise says. It is not a question. It is a prompt for reassurance. Annalise, he says, his tone shifting to one of paternal condescension he often uses, the one he probably used with her father. I've been managing these acquisitions for your father for 20 years. I know how this works. You have to be decisive. You can't let sentiment interfere with progress. She does not respond. She turns her head and watches the city lights blur past. Sentiment. Her father had been full of it. He would buy a failing company because he liked the founder's story. He would hold on to an underperforming asset because it had historical significance. She had always seen it as a weakness, a flaw in his otherwise brilliant business mind. She resolved to be different, more focused, more like Marcus. But her father had also built an empire on a foundation of respect. People trusted Arthur Thorne. Did they trust her? Or did they just fear the power she now wielded? The memory of Vance's eyes returns. He did not look like a man who feared her. She could not shake the feeling that she had made a mistake. Not a business mistake, a different kind. The kind you cannot quantify on a spreadsheet. Later that week, the rain begins. It is a cold, relentless November downpour that turns the city gray and slick. Annalise is driving home late, long after her driver has gone for the day. She is driving her father's car, a 1968 Jaguar XKE, deep British racing green. It is one of the few sentimental things she has allowed herself to keep. The car is beautiful, impractical, and temperamental. Her father loved it. The engine sputters as she turns onto a side street, trying to navigate a detour around a flooded underpass. It sputters again, coughs, and then dies. The elegant sweep of the dashboard goes dark. The wipers stop mid-swipe. The world outside is a watery blur. Silence descends, broken only by the drumming of rain on the roof. She turns the key. Nothing. A second time, a weak click. Her phone, she discovers, is dead. She had forgotten to charge it after a marathon of back-to-back meetings. Of course. She is stranded. The street is dimly lit, lined with warehouses and shadowed alleyways. She is miles from her sterile high-rise apartment. A tow truck, if she could even call one, would take an hour. She leans her head against the cool leather of the headrest and closes her eyes. It is a moment of absolute, frustrating helplessness. It is a feeling she despises. Headlights sweep across her rearview mirror. A truck, old and slightly battered, slows and pulls up behind her. A man gets out, pulling the collar of his canvas jacket up against the driving rain. He carries a heavy-duty flashlight. For a moment, a flicker of fear runs through her. A woman, alone, in a broken-down luxury car on a dark street. The man taps gently on her window. She rolls it down a few inches. Rain mists her face. The man is soaked. His dark hair is plastered to his forehead. He is not threatening. His face, illuminated by the flashlight's glow, is calm. "Car trouble?" he asks. His voice is low, matter-of-fact. "It just died," she says, the words clipped. "Pop the hood," he says. It is a suggestion, not an order. She hesitates for a second, then pulls the latch. He walks to the front of the car, the beam of his flashlight cutting through the deluge. He is not a large man, but he moves with a quiet confidence. She watches him in the side mirror. He props the hood open and leans in, seemingly oblivious to the rain that is soaking him to the bone. She cannot see his face, only the focused beam of light and the sure, methodical movement of his hands. He is not just looking, he is listening, touching, diagnosing. The minutes stretch on. He does not speak, he just works. The passenger side window of his truck rolls down. A small face appears in the opening, a little girl. She looks at Annalise, her expression solemn. "Are you sad?" the little girl asks, her voice piping and clear even over the rain. Annalise is taken aback. "What? Your car looks sad," the girl clarifies. "Papa can fix sad things." Annalise stares at the child. The simple, profound observation cuts through layers of her carefully constructed armor. Sad. Is that what she is? She thought she was busy, powerful, in control. She has not allowed herself to be sad since the funeral. Suddenly, the Jaguar's dashboard lights flicker to life. The engine turns over, catches, and settles into a low, rumbling purr. It sounds stronger than it has in months. The man closes the hood gently. He walks back to her window, wiping grease and rain from his hands onto an already soaked rag. Water drips from his chin. It is only now, as he leans closer to speak, that the dim glow from her revived dashboard illuminates his face fully. It is him, Elias Vance. Annalise's breath catches in her throat. The world shrinks to the space between them. The rain, the car, the city, it all fades away. There is only his face, his calm eyes. There is no flicker of recognition in them at first, then a slow dawning. He sees her. He knows who she is. The air grows thick, with everything left unsaid. The insulting offer, the public dismissal, his quiet dignity, her lingering shame. He does not mention it. He does not smile. He does not scowl. His expression remains placid, unreadable. "It's the alternator lead," he says, his voice the same quiet tone as before. "It was loose. It happens with these old models. The vibration works it free." He pauses. "It should get you home now." He straightens up, ready to leave. He has asked for nothing. He has acknowledged nothing. He simply fixed a stranger's car in the rain. "Wait," she says, the word escaping before she can stop it. "What do I owe you?" He looks at her for a long moment. He seems to consider the question not as a matter of money, but as something more complex. "Nothing," he says finally. "Drive safe." He turns and walks back to his truck, gets in, and drives away. His taillights disappear into the rain-swept darkness. Annalise sits alone in the purring car. The warmth from the engine begins to seep into the cabin. Her hands are trembling slightly on the steering wheel. He helped her. The man she had tried to publicly break had just saved her, without a word of reproach, without asking for a thing. And his daughter's question echoes in the quiet car. "Are you sad?" For the first time in months, Annalise Thorne allows herself to consider the answer. The question follows her for days. It haunts the quiet of her penthouse apartment and the sterile hum of the boardroom. "Are you sad?" The child's innocent query has become an indictment of the life she is leading, the purse she is trying to be. The encounter in the rain has unsettled something deep within her. It does not make sense. People act in their own self-interest. That is the fundamental rule of business, of life. A man who is publicly insulted does not then offer unconditional help to his tormentor. It is an anomaly, a deviation from the predictable patterns of human behavior she has come to rely on. And it makes her question everything. She pulls up the file for Project Nightingale, the official name for the redevelopment of Elias Vance's neighborhood. She scrolls through the projections, the acquisition costs, the profit margins. The numbers are, as Marcus promised, exceptionally good, almost too good. He is pushing to finalize the acquisition of the last few properties, leveraging the city council for an eminent domain ruling against Vance. It is aggressive. It is ruthless. It is exactly the kind of move she thought she wanted to make. But now it feels wrong. She thinks about the car, her father's Jaguar. He had been meticulous about its care. As she runs her hand over the smooth leather of the driver's seat, she remembers something he once said years ago after a mechanic at a high-end dealership had botched a simple repair. "Amateurs," he had grumbled, tossing the keys on his desk. "All polish and no substance. There's only one man in this city I'd trust with this engine. A real artist. Has magic in his hands." She had dismissed it at the time, another of her father's sentimental pronouncements. He never said the man's name. But now, a suspicion begins to form, a tiny seed of a thought. Papa can fix sad things. Annalise closes the Nightingale file. She opens a new search, not for property values or corporate records, but for something else. She needs a reason, an excuse. The car. The car is the key. She looks up specialty parts for a 68 XKE. The search results point her to a handful of niche suppliers and one small, unassuming shop on the industrial side of town. Jones Hardware and Specialty Parts. It looks like it has been there forever. The next afternoon, she drives the Jaguar to the shop. It's a brick building, its windows displaying a chaotic but curated collection of old tools, engine parts, and marine hardware. The air inside smells of metal, oil, and old cardboard. An older man with a kind, wrinkled face and hands stained with a lifetime of grease looks up from behind the counter. "Can I help you?" he asks. His name tag reads Sam. "I'm looking for a distributor cap for a 1968 Jaguar E-Type," she says, feeling strangely out of place in her tailored blazer. The man's eyes light up. He pushes his glasses up his nose. "Series 1.5 or Series 2, he asks, a genuine enthusiast. He walks around the counter to look at her car through the window. A slow smile spreads across his face. "Well, I'll be. That's Arthur Thorne's old Jag. Haven't seen this beauty in years. He loved this car." Annalise's heart beats a little faster. "You knew my father?" "Knew him?" "Of course," Sam says, leaning against the counter. "Arthur used to come in here himself for parts. Said he didn't trust the dealers. A good man, your father. A straight shooter." He pauses, his gaze thoughtful. "He used to bring this car to Elias Vance all the time. Just down on Water Street," said Eli, was the only one who understood it. Said the man had magic in his hands, the exact same words. The pieces click into place with a sudden, jarring clarity. "Elias Vance," Annalise repeats, keeping her voice neutral. "The carpenter." "Carpenter, mechanic, restorer, you name it," Sam says with a chuckle. "The man's a master of anything that requires patience and an honest hand. A rare breed. Your father knew it. Offered him a big job once, years ago. Head of a whole new division at Thorne Development. Elias turned him down. This is news to her, and to Marcus, apparently, who had painted Vance as a nobody. Why would he do that?" Sam looks out the window, his expression growing more serious. "Ellie's a private man. He lost his wife, you see. Made a promise to her, I think. To raise their girl, Lily, in the house they built together. Some things are more important than a big salary. Your father, he understood that. Respected it. Not many would. The narrative Marcus had so carefully constructed is beginning to fray at the edges. A dilapidated hobby shop. A sentimental fool. It was all a lie, a distortion. This was a man her father had deeply respected, a man he had tried to hire for a major position. Annalise thanks Sam for his time, buys the distributor cap she does not need, and leaves, but she does not go back to her office. She drives towards Water Street, towards his neighborhood. She parks her car a block away, where she can see his workshop, without being seen. It is a quiet stakeout, an act of corporate espionage directed not at a competitor, but at her own conscience. She watches. For over an hour, she just watches. She sees him through the open door, moving with an economy of motion that speaks of deep, ingrained skill. He is not a hobbyist. He is a master at work. The way he holds a tool, the way he studies the grain of a piece of wood. It is a form of communion. Then, the school bus stops at the corner. Lily gets off, her small backpack bouncing. She runs to the workshop. Elias immediately puts down his tools, his focus shifting entirely to her. He crouches down, and she throws her arms around his neck. He listens intently as she tells him about her day. There is no rush, no impatience. He is fully present. Later, he brings out a small block of soft pine and a tiny, blunted rasp. He sits on a low stool beside her and shows her how to round the edges, his large, capable hands guiding her small ones. He is teaching her, not just a craft, but patience, attention, care. Annalise sits in her luxury car, a silent observer from a different world, and she understands. This is not a dilapidated property. It is a home, it is a sanctuary, it is a legacy, just as real and just as important as the one her father left her. And Marcus Cole, the man she trusted, wants to bulldoze it. The question is no longer if she made a mistake. The question is why. Why would Marcus lie so deliberately? Why would he want this specific man, this specific property, gone so badly? The trigger has been pulled. The investigation is no longer about a piece of land. It is about the truth. The search for the truth leads back to its source, her father. His presence lingers in the vast, quiet expanse of his office, a space she has occupied for 3 months, but never truly claimed. She has kept it as he left it, a museum of his life's work. The worn leather chair, the photos on the credenza, the faint scent of his cologne clinging to the mahogany paneling. Her gaze falls upon the one piece of furniture she has never used, a massive antique roll-top desk that sits against the far wall. It is locked. Her father had always kept his personal papers there, separate from the corporate files. Marcus had told her the key was lost, that its contents were likely outdated and irrelevant. A sentimental relic like the man himself, he had said with a sad, knowing smile. Annalise now sees that smile for what it was, a lie. She runs her fingers over the lock, the key. Where would he have kept a key he wanted only her to find? She thinks back, not to board meetings and business deals, but to childhood, to rainy afternoons spent in this very office, her father reading to her. He had one book he loved above all others, a tattered copy of Moby Dick. He said it was about obsession and how it could destroy a man. She walks to the built-in bookshelf. The book is there, its spine cracked. She pulls it from the shelf. It feels heavy in her hands. Tucked inside the back cover, taped securely, is a small, ornate brass key. Her hands are steady as she walks back to the desk. The key slides into the lock. It turns with a satisfying, solid click. She rolls back the wooden top. The desk is not filled with outdated papers. It is meticulously organized. And right in the center, placed where it could not be missed, is a thick crimson file folder. On the tab, in her father's elegant script, are 2 words, E. Vance. Beside it rests a heavy, leather-bound ledger. She sinks into her father's chair, the leather sighing under her weight. She opens the ledger first. It is his private account book, detailing transactions separate from the company. Her finger traces a series of entries from 5 years ago, payments to a private investigator. Then a summary of findings. The investigator had uncovered a scheme by Marcus Cole, who was then a senior VP, to embezzle funds through inflated invoices from a shell company. The man who discovered the fraud, who brought it to her father's attention, was a contractor working on a restoration project at the time, Elias Vance. The ledger notes that Marcus Cole was quietly terminated, fired. Annalise feels a chill creep up her spine. But Marcus was not fired. He was the QO. He had been her father's right-hand man for as long as she could remember. She flips forward in the ledger. A few months after the termination entry, another note. Her father had suffered his first major heart attack. While he was recovering, the board of directors, led by a man named Henderson, a longtime ally of Marcus, voted to rehire him. They had convinced her father it was a misunderstanding, a clerical error, and that Marcus was too valuable to lose. Her father, weakened and needing stability in the company, had reluctantly agreed, but he had not forgotten. He had started watching Marcus, this desk, this ledger, this file. It was his secret investigation. She opens the crimson folder. Inside, a trinity of truths awaits her, each one a blow that systematically dismantles the world as she knows it. First, the full extent of the treachery. Her father had continued to monitor Marcus. The file contains copies of emails, bank statements, and secret recordings. It lays bare Marcus's burning grudge against Elias Vance, the man he blamed for his temporary downfall. Project Nightingale, she now sees, was never about profit. It was an act of revenge meticulously planned. The Shell Corporation, Apex Holdings, was designed to acquire the neighborhood, force Elias out, and then sell the consolidated land to Thorn Development at an inflated price, netting Marcus millions and destroying Elias in the process. It was a scheme to defraud her company and settle a personal score, all under her nose. Second, the depth of her father's respect. Tucked behind the evidence against Marcus is another set of documents. A formal, unsent job offer to Elias Vance, dated just a year ago. It was not for a minor role. It was an offer to create and lead a new, independent division of Thorn Development, the Heritage Restoration Division. It came with a substantial budget and complete creative autonomy. Pinned to the offer are her father's handwritten notes. Elias is the conscience of this company, one note reads. He understands that value is not just about money, it's about legacy. About building things that last, we need him. Her father had not seen Elias as an obstacle, he had seen him as the future. And third, the quiet nobility of the sacrifice. At the very back of the file, she finds a single handwritten letter. It is from Elias, addressed to her father. The paper is simple, the handwriting neat and strong. It is his response to the job offer. He expresses his profound gratitude and his respect for her father. Then, he respectfully declines. Arthur, the letter begins with the familiarity of two men who understand each other. I cannot accept. When Maria died, I made her a promise. I would raise our daughter here, in this house, in this workshop where we spent so many happy hours. It is more than a place to me. It is the foundation of my daughter's life, and the repository of my best memories of her mother. I cannot, in good conscience, break that promise, not for any salary or title. My work is here, my life is here. I hope you understand. Annalise closes the file. The office is silent. The weight of it all presses down on her father's hidden wisdom, Marcus's deep betrayal. Elias's quiet, unshakable integrity. She has been blind. A pawn in a game she did not even know was being played. That evening, she drives the Jaguar back to Water Street. The lights are on in the workshop. She parks and walks to the open door, the red file held tightly in her hand. Elias is sweeping the floor, the rhythmic scrape of the broom the only sound. He looks up as her shadow falls across the threshold. He does not look surprised to see her. He simply stops sweeping and waits. She does not know where to begin. The words feel inadequate, so she simply holds out the file. I know, she says, her voice barely a whisper. Everything. I am so sorry. He looks at the file, then at her face. His expression is unreadable, but the tension in his shoulders seems to ease slightly. He leans the broom against a workbench. Why, she asks, the question raw and urgent. Why didn't you say anything? At the meeting. You could have told me who you were. You could have told me about my father. Elias looks at her, and for the first time, she sees not just stillness, but a deep, weary sadness. Because you were his daughter, he says simply, and you were grieving, it wasn't my place to add to your burden. He pauses, his gaze direct and without pity. And because you didn't know who I was, the truth wouldn't have meant anything to you then. You wouldn't have believed me. He is right. She would not have. She would have seen it as the desperate plea of a man about to lose his home. She had to find the truth herself. Her father and Elias had both understood that. A small sound makes them both turn. Lily stands in the doorway that connects the workshop to the house. She is in her pajamas, holding a small, slightly lopsided wooden bird, painted a cheerful but uneven blue. She looks at Annalise, at the file, at the tension that still hangs in the air. She walks slowly toward Annalise, her small bare feet silent on the concrete floor. She stops in front of her and holds up the wooden bird. For your sad car, Lily says, her voice soft. so it won't be sad anymore. Annalise looks down at the simple handmade object, a peace offering, a gesture of pure, uncomplicated kindness. She crouches down, so she is at eye level with the child. She reaches out and takes the bird. Her fingers brush against Lily's. The wood is still slightly tacky with paint. It feels warm. Annalise says, her voice thick with emotion she can no longer suppress. It's beautiful. Lily gives her a small, shy smile. Then she puts her hand in her father's, and together they look at Annalise. In that moment, the corporate world of lies and leverage falls away, and there is only this small, quiet space, filled with the smell of wood and the profound weight of an apology accepted. The alliance is forged not with a handshake, but with a shared purpose in the low light of the workshop. The air, usually filled with the scent of wood, now also smells of brewing coffee and the electric hum of Annalise's laptop. He scheduled the final presentation for the board in 2 days, Annalise says, her screen illuminating her determined face. He's framing Project Nightingale as a triumph, the culmination of your father's vision. He'll present Apex Holdings as an independent developer we're partnering with to finalize the acquisition. He believes he has the votes. Elias listens, leaning against his workbench. He wipes a spot of grease from a wrench, his movements slow and deliberate. He's using a zoning loophole, Elias says, his voice calm. The Blighted Property Act. If he can prove one property on the block is structurally unsound and abandoned, the city can expedite an eminent domain claim on the adjacent parcels for the sake of public safety and redevelopment. The old Miller house at the end of the street, Annalise says, pulling up a satellite image. It's been empty for years. It's not unsound, Elias counters. Foundation is solid, the roof is patched. I've been maintaining it for Mr. Miller's son since he moved his father into a nursing home. Marcus must have paid off inspector to write a fraudulent report. Here it is, the battlefield. Not a street, but a war of paper and procedure. He has the ground truth. She has the corporate firepower. The money trail for Apex leads to an offshore account funded by a line of credit from a subsidiary of Thorn. Annalise explains, her fingers flying across the keyboard. He's been careful, but not careful enough. I can freeze that line of credit. If I do it before the meeting, he'll know I'm onto him. I need to do it live in the room while he's making his pitch. And I need proof the inspector's report is fraudulent, Elias adds. He walks to a large filing cabinet, one she hadn't noticed before, tucked away in a corner. He pulls out a drawer filled with meticulously labeled files. He finds the one he's looking for, Miller Property. Inside are photographs, dated and signed receipts for materials, and a structural assessment from a certified engineer he hired himself just 6 months prior. I keep records, he says simply. They work through the night. Annalise builds a presentation, a counter-narrative of damning evidence. She traces the flow of money, highlighting every lie, every betrayal. Elias provides the context, the history, the human cost. He tells her about the families who had already sold, pressured by Marcus's lowball offers and false promises. He gives her names, stories. He transforms the abstract data on her screen into a living, breathing neighborhood. As dawn approaches, the workshop is a strange tableau of 2 worlds colliding. Her sleek laptop sits next to his heavy, cast-iron vise. A stack of his paper files rests beside her discarded blazer. They are a study in contrasts, her sharp, analytical energy and his quiet, grounded strength. But they are perfectly in sync. The boardroom at Thorn Development is a cathedral of corporate power. A long, polished obsidian table reflects the cold, recessed lighting. The board members, 10 men and women in dark suits, sit like a tribunal. Marcus Cole stands at the head of the table, confident and commanding. He is at the height of his power, about to deliver the killing blow in a game only he thinks he is playing. Annalise sits at the opposite end, calm and watchful. To her left Standing silently by the wall near the door is Elias Vance. He is not wearing his work clothes. He is dressed in a simple dark sweater and clean trousers. His hands, usually dusted with sawdust or stained with oil, are scrubbed clean. He looks out of place, yet completely solid. His presence is a quiet question mark in the room. Marcus begins his presentation. It is slick, professional, filled with charts and projections. He speaks of growth, of shareholder value, of the bold new future for Thorn development under his and Annalie's leadership. He paints the residents of Water Street as obstacles to progress, and Elias Vance as their stubborn, misguided leader. With the acquisition of the final parcel through our partnership with Apex Holdings, Marcus concludes, smiling at the board, Project Nightingale will deliver a 40% return on investment within 3 years. He looks to Annalise, expecting her to voice her support, to seal his victory. "Thank you, Marcus," she says, her voice cool and steady. "That was a very creative presentation." She stands up and clicks a button on her own remote. The screen behind Marcus flickers, and his profit charts are replaced by a single, stark image. The logo for Apex Holdings next to the logo of the offshore bank in the Cayman Islands. "I have a few additions to your report," she says. A murmur goes through the board. Marcus's smile falters. Calmly, methodically, Annalise walks them through it. The embezzled funds from 5 years ago. The fraudulent inspector's report on the Miller House, which she contrasts with the legitimate engineer's report provided by Elias. The flow of money from the Thorn subsidiary into the Apex account, controlled solely by Marcus. She presents copies of her father's private ledger, of the correspondence, of the secret investigation he was conducting before he died. The room is utterly silent, save for her voice. She is not angry, she is precise. She is surgical, she is her father's daughter. When she is finished, the evidence hangs in the air, irrefutable. Marcus is pale, his composure shattered. "This is absurd," he sputters, looking around the table for an ally. "It's a fabrication, and what is he doing here?" He points a trembling finger at Elias. Annalise does not look at Marcus. She looks at the board. "Mr. Vance is here at my invitation," she says, her voice ringing with authority. "He is here to represent the Thorn Heritage Restoration Division, a new venture authorized by my father in his final year, which this board will be funding, effective immediately." She lets the statement land. The board members stare, first at her, then at Elias. He has not moved, he has not spoken a single word. He simply stands there, a quiet testament to a different kind of value, a different kind of legacy. His silent presence is more damning to Marcus than any shouted accusation. He is the truth, made manifest. Henderson, Marcus's old ally, clears his throat. "Annalise," he begins, "this is a great deal to process." "It is," she cuts in smoothly. "But the conclusion is simple. Marcus Cole has used his position to actively defraud this company and its shareholders. He has lied to me, and he has lied to all of you. He has attempted to destroy a man my father deeply respected, for personal gain and petty revenge." She pauses, her gaze sweeping across every face at the table. "I am calling for a vote. All those in favor of the immediate termination of Marcus Cole for cause, and for forwarding this evidence to the district attorney's office." She raises her hand. After a moment's hesitation, another hand goes up, then another, and another. Within seconds, it is unanimous. Marcus Cole stares at her, his face a mask of disbelief and hatred. "You," he whispers. "Security," Annalise says, are into the room's intercom. 2 guards enter immediately. They flank Marcus. His reign is over. As they escort him from the room, his empire of lies collapsing around him, his final desperate gaze falls on Elias. Elias meets his look, his expression not of triumph, but of a deep, quiet sorrow. For the waste, for the obsession, for a man so thoroughly destroyed by his own grudges. The door closes. The vanquishing is complete. In the aftermath, a profound silence fills the boardroom. The board members, shaken, file out one by one, offering Annalise quiet, respectful nods. They understand. The guard has changed. Soon only she and Elias remain. The vast empty room feels charged with the lingering energy of the confrontation. The battle is over. The war is won. Annalise walks over to the window, looking down at the city 16 floors below. The traffic moves like a silent, orderly river. It's done, she says, more to herself than to him. Elias comes to stand a few feet away from her. They walk together out of the boardroom and down the long, empty hallway, their footsteps echoing on the marble floor. The silence between them is different now. The tension is gone, replaced by a shared, unburdened quiet. It is the comfortable silence of two soldiers after a victory. "Thank you," she says as they wait for the elevator. "For what?" he asks, his gaze fixed on the lighted numbers above the door. "For keeping records," she says with a small smile, "and for reminding me what my father's company is supposed to be about." The elevator arrives. The ride down is silent. When the doors open into the cavernous, empty lobby, he turns to her. "I should get back," he says. "Lily will be home from school soon." "Of course," she says. He starts to walk away, then pauses. He says, turning back, "Your father was a good man. He would be proud of you today." The words land with a gentle, healing weight. It is the validation she has been seeking, not from a board of directors, but from this quiet, principled man who knew her father's heart. A few weeks pass. Life settles into a new rhythm. The red and white for sale signs on Water Street come down, one by one. The neighborhood breathes a collective sigh of relief. The Thorn Heritage Division is officially launched, with a generous endowment from the company's main foundation. Its first project is the full, proper restoration of the old Miller House. Elias oversees it all from his workshop, as a consultant, just as Annalise had announced. He remains independent. He remains on his own terms. One crisp autumn afternoon, Elias is in his workshop, planing the edge of a reclaimed oak beam when a car he doesn't recognize pulls up to the curb. It is a practical sedan, not the Jaguar. Annalise gets out. She is dressed not in a suit, but in jeans and a simple sweater. She walks over, a slight, almost shy smile on her face. She doesn't say anything at first, just watches him work for a moment. "New car?" he asks, setting down his plane. "It's a rental," she replies. She gestures down the street with her chin towards a small, charming clapboard house, 2 doors down from his. A for rent sign that has been in its window for a month is now gone. "I signed a lease this morning." Elias stops what he is doing. He looks at the house, then back at her, a question in his eyes. "The commute from my penthouse was getting to be a bit much," she says simply, "for the division's work. It makes more sense to be closer." He understands the unspoken message. She is not asking him to join her world of glass towers and corporate power. She is meeting him in his. She is stepping out of her fortress and planting a flag, however temporary, in his territory, on his terms. It is a gesture of respect more profound than any promotion or salary she could have offered. He nods slowly, a genuine smile finally touching the corners of his mouth. It transforms his serious face, making him look younger. "Welcome to the neighborhood, Miss Thorne," he says. "Annalise," she corrects him gently. "Annalise," he repeats. The name sounds right in the quiet of his workshop. He walks over to a small, finished chest on his workbench. It is made of dark walnut, with intricate joinery and a lustrous, hand-rubbed oil finish. He picks it up. It is not large, but it feels solid, important. He holds it out to her. "A housewarming gift," he says. She takes it, her fingers brushing his. The wood is smooth and warm. She opens the lid. Inside, nestled on a bed of dark green velvet, is the old, corroded alternator lead from her father's Jaguar. He has cleaned it, polished it to a dull shine, and mounted it like a piece of sculpture. It is the broken thing he fixed that rainy night. A memento, a symbol. "So you remember," he says, his voice low, "where you started." She looks from the broken part to his face. She understands. It is not about the car, it is about her. The broken part of her that he had unknowingly helped to fix. "I'll remember," she says, her voice soft. She closes the lid on the beautiful box, holding the gift and the memory close. Autumn deepens, its colors turning rich and burnished. The air on Water Street grows crisp, carrying the scent of wood smoke and decaying leaves. The neighborhood is alive. The sound of hammers and saws has replaced the anxious silence. The Heritage Division, guided by Elias's quiet expertise and Annalise's sharp acumen, is a success. They are not just restoring buildings. They are restoring a sense of community, of pride. They start with the Miller house, and the work ripples outward. Neighbors help neighbors. The street is healing. Annalise's small rental house becomes a real home. She fills it not with expensive art, but with comfortable furniture and books. She learns the names of her neighbors. She drinks coffee on her porch in the mornings and listens to the sounds of the neighborhood waking up. Her life is smaller now and infinitely larger. The city skyline, once the measure of her ambition, is now just a distant, glittering backdrop to a world that feels more real. One Saturday afternoon, as the sun begins its low descent, the three of them walk along the waterfront park that borders the old industrial district. Elias, Annalise, and Lily, a new unspoken triumvirate. Lily runs ahead, her laughter bright against the cry of the gulls. She is flying a kite Elias made for her, a simple diamond of ripstop nylon and wooden dowels. The kite catches the wind coming off the bay and soars upward, a speck of red against the pale blue sky. Annalise and Elias walk side by side, a comfortable foot of space between them. They do not talk much. They do not need to. They watch Lily, her small figure silhouetted against the wide expanse of water and sky. She runs back and forth between them, handing the string to Annalise, then to Elias, her joy a current that connects them. The sun melts into the horizon, painting the clouds in shades of orange and violet. The evening grows cool. Lily, tired from her running, finally brings the kite down. The walk back to the car is quiet, Lily's small hand held firmly in her father's. Later, after Lily is asleep in the back of Elias's truck, they stand together by the iron railing at the edge of the park. The city across the bay is a tapestry of a million tiny lights. The water below is dark and inscrutable, the tide slapping gently against the old stone seawall. Annalise shivers slightly in the cool night air. Elias does not say anything. He simply takes off his worn canvas jacket, the one that still faintly smells of sawdust and oil, and drapes it over her shoulders. It is warm from his body. The gesture is simple, protective, and deeply intimate. She pulls the collar closer, turning her face into the fabric. It smells of him, of safety, of home. He does not put his arm around her. She does not lean her head on his shoulder. They just stand there together in the vast, quiet dark. They watch the distant lights, listening to the rhythm of the water. There are no promises spoken, no declarations made. There is no need. Everything important has already been said in quiet actions, in shared work, in a simple, handmade gift. The future is no longer a strategic plan or a series of acquisitions. It is this quiet, shared stillness. An unspoken promise hanging in the cool, salt-flecked air, as patient and as certain as the tide.